I've been told to start the damn show. I think we should eventually start with a song, a musical selection. And I've got that. I've got the one that we should start with.
Okay.
Car Wash. Rose Royce.
Working at the car wash.
I was thinking you were going to go with something from a musical, maybe something from Rent.
I don't know any of those.
Oh, of course you do. Andy
How about
knows
Les
all-
Mis? You know all the
He
music.
knows
Les
all the
Miserables.
musical. We should have some fun and put up a pad here and watch Andy spell some of these things on a
Yes.
pad. That would be fun.
There you go.
I don't think there'll be any fun at all.
Talk to us, Mississippi. Come on, man.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up? It's what's good under the hood.
What's
That's
good
the
in the hood?
podcast.
Exactly.
Greg
Hey,
Hood.
Right down there if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and share the show. Rob will send you $5 for every one you share.
Yes.
Every share.
$5 in Monopoly money. You are welcome. That's my contribution to the show.
Doesn't
What
get
is good
better.
under the hood, folks?
Well, actually, I was talking with Greg while Andy was going to get coffee because Andy needs.
Andy
coffee.
didn't get me any coffee.
I
He
had to
didn't get
pee
Andy. He
too
didn't
because
get
I
you
drank a
any.
lot of coffee.
I
for
bet.
that
He didn't
one
even
episode.
offer me anything. It's just the way Andy is.
I'll go get some.
There's no no, stop it. There's no I in Andy, but there is a me. Is that what it was down
The
there?
one podcast, there was an I at the end.
At the end of my name,
A-N-D-I.
Andy.
Yeah.
There was an I and Andy, but I got a bottle of water, so I'm good.
So, Greg, it seems like car prices have gone up at I don't want to say a drastic amount, but a good clip because of the pandemic. And this article from NBC News.
NBC News.
Y'all did that good.
NBC News.
My friend Tom Pollard, he used to work for NBC News, and so I always call him. You can look at my phone; it says Tom Pollard, NBC News. So that's our because that was his closeout.
Dude, you should be a VO guy for the networks. That was awesome. Do it again.
Tom Pollard, NBC News.
Tom Pollard, NBC News.
Oh,
Stop-
you're really getting in the
Thank
microphone.
you.
showing off Woods.
Sorry.
You're,
sound
you're
like
much
a-
better than me. That's all right.
Sometimes
I
I
sound
have
like
to.
a cat in a
So
blender.
let me
next
tell you
to
a funny
two.
story. So we were cutting a commercial here earlier, and I was doing
A commercial for Mazda of Columbia.
yes, and I was doing an Andy Woods imitation,
Mhm.
and it's pretty good. But the key is I still have to work on his inflections because my goal is to go in there and cut what's good under the hood commercial, and it's me talking to me, and then have him come in at the end. But
That would make my job a lot easier. I still get paid as much, right? Even
No.
if I don't. Oh,
I want the money. So, but it was I had some pretty good stuff there. I was close.
yeah, you did.
I was
We'll work
decent.
on
Well,
that.
I think we should have virtual Andy. I'll just record Andy saying a couple of different things like, "Hey, I'm Andy Woods. Hey, Greg, what's good under the hood?" And then we'll just loop
We'll
those
just do the
together.
show.
Yeah, we'll
Saves
just,
us money.
just loop together, and then we'll have just a portrait of Andy sitting there that I'll move with my hand a little bit so people think he's moving. We'll just make
I
virtual
could
Andy.
just stay at home.
Exactly.
I would get in a lot less trouble if I stayed at home.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't
think
we
I'm in
all?
trouble. I think I'm in trouble with the boss today. We were on a conference call.
Yeah.
And I was in the room, and I don't like conference call. I don't like meetings, team meetings. Like, whatever.
because you're not on the team.
And so my boss's boss comes to my door and he says, "How you doing, Andy?" I said, "I just got done with a meeting. I hate meetings." And he said to me, he said, "I've been in meetings for 2 days and I've not got anything done." I wanted to say, "Well, that's your problem." But he is my boss's boss. So I said,
And by the way, one of
Thank
the
you.
nicest people that you'll meet too.
Ron
really,
is-
I would
Ron
agree with
is
Ron Hill is
very
the
nice.
bomb.
I'm not
He's-
just
he
saying that
really is,
because
yeah.
he's my boss's boss too, but Ron Hill's a great guy.
We're
So-
speaking
here's
of
the-
our iHeartMedia Columbia
Here's
family.
The thing is that he's not my boss, and I really like him.
Well, there you go.
He brings us snacks.
Actually,
does.
I have to
He
say
does.
this. I don't want to get off in the weeds where people go, "This is boring," but everybody in this building is amazing. I cannot believe how nice everybody is, and I appreciate that every time I come
Oh.
here.
That's because you're only here for like 2 hours at a time.
You should.
Oh, it gets ugly.
So, well, we had a programming summit a while back. Not to go too crazy here, but one of us actually called another person the B word right in the middle of the programming summit in
You
front of
did.
everybody. It was it was
You
me.
did.
My bad.
We're talking about something
was-
online, and you had taught me how to do some blog entries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that Rob was saying, "I'm number one in the world for this." And
I didn't say that.
I said, "I'm number two."
And he
And-
said, "You're my bitch."
He said, "Well, who taught you, bitch?"
In
And the
front of
whole room,
everybody.
and the whole
Nice.
room went like all the oxygen. It was like one of those oxygen depriving bombs over in Ukraine. All the oxygen just
Well,
out of the
because
room.
everybody looked at Andy like is Andy going to get up and slap the hell out of him? Because he probably deserves it.
Yeah,
And I was
probably
like, as
should.
soon as I said it, I was like, oh,
We could go on
no.
for like an hour about the inner workings of
No,
iHeartMedia, but we
let's
should
not.
talk about
Let's
No,
talk
but there
about-
are very nice people here, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I'm always treated well when I come in the door. All right,
always nice to
let her
have you
rip.
in the
Let's
building.
talk about something that's worthwhile.
But the price hike on cars, we were talking about this from NBC News before we got into the weeds there.
This is NBC News.
The report is from NBC News. And I'm going to read you the headline, Greg, and you can tell me what is right and what is wrong, maybe about this headline.
I'll just start right here. Everything's wrong.
Then why read it? Let's just
No.
talk about Andy's hair. I mean, why not?
That's wrong too.
Why don't we turn the temperature down? I'll get one of these contracts you left and I'll just bundle it up and
There
we'll be
you
good to go. Anyway,
You
no,
still
but
got
it says, I didn't throw it away. I kept it as a prop. Sometimes I wear that during my show, which of course is the rundown on Fox Sports Radio every day.
Right.
But no, the headline, Greg, says price hikes on cars could be here to stay thanks to the pandemic.
Thanks, China.
Yes,
That's the headline.
and it's perhaps it's correct. I vacillated, especially in the used car area. I had vacillated over whether or not they were going to take a dump here because they'd gone up, 40% over the last year or so. Due to the pandemic and the shortage of new vehicles due to chips and all that kind of stuff. And there's still a chip problem. So it's not getting any better. We still got about another year and a half before they recover from that fully. Ford is now shipping some vehicles with non-essential chip stuff safety. If it's all safety, they'll let it go. And then I guess they have to come back and do it later. So they're still trying to work around some of those issues, which help hold prices high. But the thing that shifted is that first of all, as an industry, whether it be manufacturing, whether it be from the sales side, we're a very resilient and very, we respond well to adversity in this industry. We always have, because we've always got something coming our way, gas or interest or
You make a
chips or-
great point.
you
Yeah.
can go back through time and there's always been something rowing against us. I mean, it could be legislative. There's just a ton of things that happen to us as an industry that create adversity. And we're really, really adept to moving around and not getting stuck to where we're hurting. But one of the things that's happened in people, it's evident to everybody, is because of, they're publicly traded companies. These manufacturers are making more money now than they've made in many, many years. And the reason why is because I believe they truly used to operate from a stance of ego. Who's number one in the world? Who's number two in the world? Who's number one truck manufacturer? And I saw it, when whether it be Ford or Chevy or even Ram, as Ram started really taking market share with its newer pickups, they were pouring the gas to, I should use that term, gas.
I was thinking.
They were putting the pedal to the metal on incentives to overtake the other manufacturers. And that's doing business strictly from an ego perspective. Well, what the pandemic has done is it's kind of a reset in the sense that manufacturers are realizing that they don't have to put all the pressure on these dealers to sell all these cars to make their margins or make their money when they're not giving out incentives to buy the car, and the dealers are holding firmer in the prices because they have less to choose from. They're actually more profitable than they were before. So, sometimes less is more. There's a point of diminishing return in everything that everybody does. And I'm sure it happens with the car manufacturer. And sometimes their ego wouldn't let them figure it out. So in doing that, we're seeing a little bit of a taste of it at Mazda. And that is that the Mazda Club Sport, I guess is what it is. So it's the convertible. We have two versions of a Miata. And one's the full down convertible. And the other one's kind of got a hard top that folds down. And that they're eliminated part of them. That particular model, I believe I said it right. I could be wrong. I'm just not in tune with that much. But is that they're going to have customers order that car, special order it. So if you want it, you got to order. It's going to take you 6 to 8 weeks to get the car. It's just the way it works. And they're floating that because they're trying to see whether, as a business, and I'm sure other manufacturers are doing something similar. I'm not involved with it. It's just a guess. But they realize that when we're working off thinner inventories and they can build to what they actually need, then supplier issues of oversupply, undersupply, all that stuff doesn't play into how a car is manufactured and the cost. They can probably do it a whole lot more efficiently. So they're controlling the tempo, or instead of having to go back and incentivize a car to get it gone,
I know, but with that though, you mentioned that's a very special car. If I want just a base model CX-5, and I come to see you, and like right now you may have, I don't know, let's use a round number of 10 on site. Okay. but
It's
maybe
a pretty good number.
well,
You're
I don't
pretty
know.
accurate.
Well, there you go. But if you have 10 on site, but I want one that's a different color and has different wheels and maybe whatever, a couple other little things. Are we going to get to a point where when I come in, it's like I order a car and I have to wait on it a little bit,
I hope
even if
not.
it's that base model?
I hope not. And what we're hoping, I'd like to have, if I could manage a 45-day inventory,
Right.
I would be pretty darn happy with that. I mean, we used to shoot for 60 to between 60 to 90, if you're rolling in that, if you had that, and you and I talked earlier about having duplicates on the ground,
Right.
or models that were
I
very,
mean,
very
it
close.
keeps your overhead lower, doesn't it?
Well, our interest cost, our flooring cost
Right.
on the cars is lower. One of the things that we do is we pay interest on the new cars that are on the ground. So we buy them from a manufacturer. The manufacturer, they ship them to us. They go on our flooring line, a credit line. So we actually don't technically own that car outright. And there's a lot of benefits for that. Number one, it's our cash. It wouldn't be all tied up. Most car dealers, including us, we own our used cars outright, but we floor our new. But if something catastrophic happens to all those new cars,
It's not on you.
the insurance is covered under that, not under our garage keepers, but it's covered under the flooring company's policy. So there's some advantages all the way around that we look at when we do business. And a lot of manufacturers give flooring credits to us to help us through, the first 30-ish days of having that car on the ground. But the point is this, so yes, that is an expense that's a controllable if we keep it lower. The difference is that we used to have, when I'd had dealerships where we'd have 1,000 cars on the ground. That really is if you're selling 300 a month, you go, well, I need them because that's, pushing up at 90 days. And if something runs thin, that we can kind of offset it. The point is that we've learned how to operate with almost nothing. I mean, last month, I think I sold a total of 37 new. That doesn't sound like a lot, but we sold more used. But we had a good month as far as our profits and everything. The way it worked, we worked real well. But at one time for 2 weeks, I only had a rotating number of 2 cars on my showroom floor. So to be doing in the 30s with 2 cars is a pretty darn efficient job. I overturned my inventory over 100%. I only sold what I had. So I believe I could have sold 50 or 60 real easy had I had that many cars. So I need more. I need more to have growth. I need more to have a selection for people. So back to your question of, base model car. The problem I have is if I have a CX-5 Sport, which is my base model, and I've only got a white one, and you want a blue one, you really want your car now. Wouldn't it be nice if you had the blue one?
Right.
So what I'd like to have is a representation of most of the colors and whatnot. And we do dealer trades with other dealers, but that doesn't mean we're always going to get it just because they have it. They might already have a deposit on it, or they don't feel like trading that car. They control it. We don't. And so we kind of do is it a courtesy to each other. I'd like to have enough, but not too many like we used to. I mean, I don't need to have 150 or 175 new cars on the ground.
Well, that's one of the things you've learned from COVID that's made you probably a more efficient dealer, right?
I learned from COVID that I get tired real easy now.
Well, that's
After
true, too.
17 days at home.
But
yeah.
I don't
I learned
like
a
to-
lot from COVID.
I don't like to talk about COVID,
Okay.
but the last question that I have actually involves COVID. And it's, look, we've heard the term endemic, and it's coming supposedly to an end. You can go, went to a baseball game a couple weeks ago, and there were nobody wearing masks. And it was like, wow, it's almost like you're going to church and you're not wearing a tie. I mean, it's kind of how it feels. But are we going to get to a point where the vehicle prices may come down a little bit as we get through, quote unquote, the endemic, and hopefully somebody deals with the issue in Ukraine?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to come down a lot because remember what I just said earlier. It's learned behavior. So
Right.
now the manufacturer already knows the deal. They know they can make more with less. So,
Right. But if other dealers, if they go back to some of the ways that they had before, where one manufacturer says, you know what, I'm going to make sure that our dealers have an absurd amount of stuff on hand, and it makes them more, I don't know, makes them more customer friendly because they can go and actually get that blue car if they want it. You think that's going to happen? That may affect it to an extent.
yeah, but I think it's going to take about 10 years.
Oh, okay.
I
Still
mean,
got time.
you look at the evolution of what happened. I mean, if you went back to 1985, there were no incentives on cars. And then as it progressed forward and, our annual number of cars, rocketed up into the 18 million range, is that when they're making that many cars on the on the IFCOM on that deal, whether or not they're actually going to sell them. When they start getting into a lull, they have to start throwing money after them. And the reason they have to do that is because they have to keep their production going. So if I've got, 20 whatever sitting on the lot and I don't need them, and the manufacturer calls me, and I remember the days when the job of a district manager with a car manufacturer was wholesaling inventory. So they would call you and beg you, hey, if you take some of these, I'll get you some of those. And I'm like, I don't want them. I don't need them. No, please, you got to help me out. I mean, they're begging us to take them because that machine was rolling in Detroit or wherever it was, that they had to lay those cars down to us. And so they were making deals with us. And I remember making deals. Hey, I'll take those if you do this, or you give me some more incentive money, or whatever happens to do to help me if we're going to do that program. And they would find a way to do it. They'd have to offer it to other dealers, and most other dealers would go, no, I don't want to do it. And then I would, and it was advantageous. And then you could sell them if you were significantly less. But I just don't see it'll be an evolution that builds it back to that point to where, and then by then we'll be selling electric cars instead of gas, and then that'll be the end of it.
I don't think anything ever goes back to the way it was. We all, because we're learning more patience with COVID. I mean, 4 years ago, you would lose a customer if you didn't have what they wanted, and you say, you got to order it and all that. People are getting more patient probably a little bit because they know they have to be. Or am I wrong?
But like I told Rob earlier, the problem with the ordering system of whatever you're doing with a car or a motorcycle or a boat or whatever, if it takes me 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get a car, you know what can change in my life in 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah.
I could die, or I could change my mind, or I could, or you could get pregnant, Andy.
Spend 17 days
Wouldn't
at home
be the first
vid.
time.
It wouldn't be the first time.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but your entire situation could change. You could lose your job, and you may think, okay, I don't want to get into another car payment right now because I've got to do.
Yeah, or the economy changes, or I ordered a car and all of a sudden gas is $7 a gallon instead of $5. And by the way, speaking of getting pregnant, I'm going to be a grandpa.
Are you really?
Really?
I am. I'm
Grandpa Greg.
Yep, my oldest daughter and her husband are having a baby, and I think it's pretty darn awesome.
So when are they going to have it? There's going to be a little boy or a little girl. Questions.
We don't know yet.
No.
They probably know. They just haven't told
you. I think there's going to be a reveal.
My nephew called me last night on speakerphone, speaking of, excuse me. And Sam called, and he said, Uncle Andy? I said, yeah. He said, Angela and I have something to tell you. We're going to be parents. We're going to have a baby. And I said, well, congratulations. Did you just find out? He said, no, we found out in December. We hadn't told anybody yet. It's like it's February. It's March.
Well, so I probably shouldn't have said what I just said, because everybody is always worried, the first couple of weeks. I mean,
hold on, just for a second here. You get a pass. You are grandpa. You're a Grandpa Greg now.
Grandpa Greg.
G-Paw Greg. They can get a nice glass of, shut up, because you're Grandpa Greg.
Thank you.
You're happy about having this grandbaby.
I am beyond ecstatic.
Clap for them.
Yes.
If they shouldn't have told you if they didn't want you telling everybody.
Thank you.
That's how that works. Now, if you come on and give out the gender before everybody else, so that they can have that nice session where, I don't know, they have the gender reveal with the cake or whatever silliness they come up with, then that might be a little bit out there. But
they haven't told me that, so there is that reveal. But they haven't told me.
Well, good. That's because they probably would. You probably
because it would end up on a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
My daughter's not stupid.
No, absolutely not. Well, anyway.
So it's good though, and I'm very excited about it.
That's awesome.
What are you going to have the kid call you? Is it Pawpaw, Grandpa,
G-Paw?
G-Paw.
My dad was G-Paw. So, and I love my dad. So I said, I'll pick that one.
Where do they live?
They live in Charlotte.
Okay. So you'll be close.
Close. I hope they move here. I would, there is some consideration for that. I don't know that they're going to for a fact, but I think they're floating the idea. My daughter is a teacher and she could pretty much work where she wants. And my son-in-law is in IT for Lowe's corporate. And I think he can pretty much work where he wants to.
Well, under that logic, I'll help move some stuff. If we get the grandbaby here and we get pictures of you on the tractor with the grandbaby just moving dirt around your yard, I could see that happening.
I'm going to teach that kid how to drive the tractor. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
At 6 months.
6 months old.
I can't believe you held that from us for all this time. And
how much is all this time?
When did you? All day. You've been here all day.
I swear, I'm going to get you a T-shirt that says "I'm G-Paw and you're not." I'm going to get that made for you. Deal with it.
I kept it from you all day, and now I laid it out
again. Congratulations to G-Paw.
I had nothing to do with it.
Don't say anything else.
All good.
End the show on that because it's positive.
All right. Make sure that you please like, subscribe, and share the show. We're on pretty much
hit the notification bell, because I have friends of mine go, Well, I didn't know it came on. It loads on YouTube every Friday at noon. But
Every
if you
Friday
don't
at
hit the
9
notification bell, it doesn't tell you, hey, the podcast is up.
Yeah.
And I think we got some pretty good stuff here.
we do
just
have
me
some
thinking.
good stuff. It's good
We
stuff.
All right.
have our moments,
We do.
but our moments are over for today. Thanks for listening and watching. What's good under the hood?